Network from our newsroom in Los Angeles. My name is Andrew Siciliano. What a weekend it was in Cleveland. We will recap any and everything you need to know about those 3 days, and we look ahead to rookie mini camps, everybody. It's almost that time as well. But we begin with the story that kind of took over day one of the draft, and that is the future of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. This was his weekend in Louisville. Can you find Aaron Rodgers? Can you? He's the guy that looks like, I don't know, Clockwork Orange, top left corner.
I can't fathom not being in Green Bay. So that's where my mind's at. I just, I don't only love the player, but I love the person. I love working with him on a daily basis. I think we all do, from the players in that locker room to the coaching staff. And I don't even want to let my mind go there.
Brian, there was a report today that Aaron's condition on returning is that you're no longer the GM. Has that been communicated to you in any way with your communication with him, with Mark, or with anyone?
Aaron hasn't said anything like that to me, and certainly hasn't said anything publicly. So I think it's a little unfair to kind of, put that on him. But, listen, you certainly don't like to hear those things, but at the same time, it's kind of part of the gig in the National Football League. So, but no, nothing's been communicated directly to me.
All right, there was a lot of he said over the weekend. Now that the draft is finally done, hi there, Ian Rappaport. Hi there, Tom Pelissero. Now that we're done, okay, now that the Packers have their draft class and Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur had to answer questions about everything other than their draft class, on Monday, Ian, where do we stand with the quarterback there?
Well, we stand with the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, still at odds with the Green Bay Packers organization for a couple reasons. And, these were detailed pretty good over the weekend when the focus was on the draft, and Aaron Rodgers seemed to kind of take up a lot of the airspace there. Among Rodgers' frustrations with the organization, yes, he wants the organization to commit to him financially. There have been long-term contract extension talks, but obviously they are not to a point yet where Rodgers feels like he knows that he is going to be the guy, not just for 2021, but also beyond. Obviously, that is something he is seeking. He, of course, has been frustrated, Tom, with the selection of Jordan Love. And worth noting, not that it matters, the Packers actually wanted two different receivers, including Justin Jefferson, before they ended up trading up for Jordan Love. Who knows if that actually makes a difference for anything. And then Rodgers, I'm told, also wanted to be more involved in some of the personnel decisions. This is crazy, but it does seem like the one thing that drove Rodgers nuts was when the organization released Jake Kummerow just a day after he praised him publicly, described as a little bit of a death knell in the relationship. So much here to fix, and I know the Packers are now trying to fix it.
Ian, one factor that we need to discuss when it comes to Aaron Rodgers' frustration with what he perceives as a level of dysfunction within the organization is the Packers changed their organizational structure about 3 years ago when Ted Thompson stepped down as general manager amidst some health issues and Brian Gutekunst was named the GM. For decades, the Packers had their head coach report to the GM. Well, under the current structure, Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, and another executive, Russ Ball, all report to Mark Murphy. In other words, Gutekunst is not technically Matt LaFleur's boss, but he is the one who's running the draft and free agency and everything else when it comes to shaping the roster. In other words, Matt LaFleur at a lot of times has to answer in the locker room and to Aaron Rodgers for moves that are made by Gutekunst himself, whether that is trading up for Jordan Love, cutting Jake Kummerow, or this year taking a cornerback in the first round of the draft. It's also worth pointing out the Packers are 26-6 over the past 2 years since LaFleur got there, despite a variety of different issues, including that move to trade up for Love. All the questions when he first got there about how the relationship would work between LaFleur and Rodgers, and now the latest issues as Rodgers' future in Green Bay hangs in the balance while the Packers publicly and privately continue to insist we are not trading the reigning NFL MVP. Andrew.
Look, the biggest questions here are, is this fixable? And which side will blink? Will Aaron Rodgers go down the Carson Palmer road from 10 years ago? And if so, how steadfast is he in his resolve here to say, I want to do it my way? In other words, get me out of here. That remains to be seen. It is only May 3rd. May 3rd, by the way, is a deadline, as we turn the page here, Ian, to the next story, a deadline for the 2018 first-round picks to have their fifth-year options locked in. The Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons. It seems they are passing on year 5 on Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah, they are now officially passing on year 5 contractually right now for Leighton Vander Esch's. Jane Slater just reported a couple minutes ago, agent Ron Slavin, who's represented Vander Esch since he was drafted, was just informed that they are officially declining the option. Not a surprise when you draft a first-round linebacker. Generally, these are the sorts of things that happens. But of course, now this becomes a contract year for the very talented Vander Esch. And it's also worth noting, Tom, that the defense is going back now more to the unit where, on the scheme where he thrived a couple years back when he first burst onto the scene, first came into the league. Dan Quinn, now the defensive coordinator, the organization still has very high hopes for Vander Esch. He still can cash in, just not locked in contractually right now.
Ian, the Steelers are also declining the option on safety Terrell Edmunds, one of their first-round picks back in the 2018 draft. A mild surprise here. Edmunds has been a 3-year starter for Pittsburgh, plays upwards of 80% of the snaps, but if they had exercised that option, it would have fully guaranteed over $6 million to Edmunds in 2022. They already exercised the option on their other safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, of course, was not actually drafted by Pittsburgh. He was drafted by Miami, acquired in a trade. He'll be under contract through 2022. Edmunds, though, gets an opportunity now to go, try to play well in 2021, and then hit the market and cash in next March.
All right, it should be noted here that these fifth-year options are guaranteed, period. They used to be guaranteed for injury only. Now they're just guaranteed. So keep that in mind, Ian, when we tell you what Atlanta is doing with their fifth-year options.
Yeah, similar to what Tom mentioned with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Hayden Hurst, who the Atlanta Falcons traded for, former first-rounder for the Baltimore Ravens, he had his option officially declined today. So another player who can play himself into a big contract a year early. Meanwhile, of course, Calvin Ridley, the budding star from the Atlanta Falcons, had his option picked up, about $11 million. Not a surprise, firmly in their plans. It's also worth noting, guys, there have been a bunch of players from Bruce Irvin to Sammy Watkins to Conklin with the Titans, guys who have really done huge contracts a year early, even though the organization declined the fifth-year option. So this doesn't necessarily mean things are over for guys. It just means it needs to ramp up a little earlier.
Yeah, and for some guys, not having that option picked up works out well financially. Take Corey Davis with the Titans. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option. He played really well, got a nice free agent deal. Doesn't mean your career is over. It just means teams not locking in and guaranteeing a fifth-year number. Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero. Gentlemen, thank you both.
The 6-time world champion New England